love the way the Florida Panthers play. They're probably one of my favorite teams to watch, but unfortunately, they're playing against a team that I spent a lot of years with, had a lot of success with some of the greatest players in the world there. So, and I still know so many people back in my hometown of Edmonton. So I'm gonna have to stick with Edmonton in this one.
When you look at hockey today, and it's something that Paul Sweeney and Rich Truman are much more up on than I am, to me, it's a radically different game than the controlled aggression that you played. Are you bored with the modern game?
Well, I'm not actually. In fact, we always speak about this all the time, and it's still a tough game. And you can see the teams that go on to win the Stanley Cup, the grueling 6 months in the regular season. You're basically playing 4.5 games a week for over 6 months with travel, and then you got to go through 2 months of the playoffs and eliminate 3 other teams in order to do that, or 4 teams in order to do that. So the game is tough in many ways. Of course, they've changed the rules, and in my opinion, for the betterment of the game. I think it's opened up the skill, it's opened up the speed of the game. But as you've seen in these playoffs, in order to score, you still got to get into those tough areas, and you got to be willing to stay there once you get there. And it's not comfortable to go there.
Right.
So I think in overall, the game is still an incredibly tough game. It's a dangerous game, but that's one of the things that makes it so exciting.
Hey, Mark, as a Rangers fan, thank you for delivering the cup here to Ranger fans here. And I know you won't buy a drink or a meal in this city ever again. Talk to us about the Rangers this year. I mean, a great season, some great players that I know the city rallied around, but they did not really get it done in the postseason. Is this a team that needs to be broken up, or can it be built upon?
Well, it's hard to say the team should be broken up, but I have to say, they set all kinds of franchise records this year. They had a tremendous regular season. They seem to be really a tight-knit team, which is a crucial part of winning a Stanley Cup. So they got a lot of things to be positive about. You can't throw it all down the drain because you lost to an incredibly strong Panther team. There were some areas in the game that will probably need to be addressed, and I'm sure the management will do that. But overall, of course, you can't say it's a great success if you don't win the Stanley Cup. But I think there's a lot of things that you can really be positive about this team. And the reality is that only one team is going to go away happy this year, and that's a team that wins the Stanley Cup. And the regular season is one thing, and as we've seen during the regular season and then the playoffs, it's a different game. It's a different mindset in order to be successful. And if you're a good player and you're a player that's relied on to score, the other team's job is not to allow you to do that. And so you have to be able to adapt and change your game in playoffs when teams are focusing on you individually to not allow you to get to your game that has made you successful. And the good players find a way. And you also have to remember that, even though that we have some of our players on the Rangers team, they don't have a tremendous amount of playoff experience.
Yep.
They're getting it. But, playoff experience matters when it gets down to the nook and cranny like it did in the conference finals this year against a team that played incredibly stringent defense and put a lot of pressure on the team.
So, Mark, I mean, as you mentioned, the regular season for the Rangers was such a great one, and the fans were so fired up. And people were even making some comparisons to your 94 Rangers team. What do you think the difference is between your team and this year's Rangers, and maybe how do they make some changes?
Well, it's hard for me to talk about what changes need to be because unless you're in the dressing room and you see the players on a day-to-day basis and you see the way they prepare and you see the way the commitment that's geared toward winning, it's hard to sit back like I am outside that box and make assessments of individual players. I can look at the ice and watch them play and say what someone did well or what someone didn't do well enough in order to make them champions. But the reality is, one of the things that I do think they were similar to us in 94 is that they played like a team. And I don't think there's a team that I ever played on. I shouldn't say that because I played on a few Stanley Cup champion teams. But one of the things they all had in common was that we were a team, personified what a team means to a T. The 94 Ranger team was incredibly disciplined. Everybody knew their roles. There was no kind of hierarchy in the team. We were in a circle. Everybody grabbed the oar, as Eddie Olczyk used to say, and started rowing together. And we were on a mission. We were incredibly focused. We had a great mix of experience and youthfulness with Leach and Richter and Kovalev and Zubov and all the great young players. But I saw some similarities with this year's team. They played like a team. They cared for each other. You could see it on and off the ice, and that's an important component to any championship team.
Mark, you will always be 32, but the truth is some people retire and they check out. You did not. Tell us about the Mark Messier Foundation. Last time I talked to you, you were trying to build 3 or 5 or 12 ice rinks in northern Manhattan. Tell us about Answer the Call and what you're doing with first responders.
Yeah, I was lucky when I came to New York to get involved with some amazing people. And it was always important for us. I remember our coach, Glenn Sather, back in Edmonton, that he made every one of the teammates when we were 18 years old affiliate with a charity. And it was one of the best things that ever happened to us, and certainly me as a professional, because it gave me some perspective outside the game. And I got involved with the Alberta Lung Association, and to this day, we still try to help out. Came to New York, and one of the first things I did was join the Cancer Institute over in Hackensack, Tomorrow's Children, which was incredible. I have a skyway over there that links the Children's Pavilion and the Women's Pavilion. I put all my memorabilia in there, and it's a place for the kids and the families to go get some reprieve. And Answer the Call, as you know, is the first responders in New York City for NYPD, FDNY, and their Port Authority. And we know how impactful that charity's been to the city of New York, and what great work we do over there. And of course, my own foundation, the Mark Messier Foundation, that's really kind of geared towards creating access and opportunity for kids, underprivileged kids that would never have the opportunity to play some of the sports and get on the ice and other things. So that's been a big part of not only since I've been retired, but also when I first came